think everybody can hear now. Welcome, everybody. I didn't want to interrupt. Okay, a few housekeeping information for those that have never been here. The bathrooms are up in that building up there, if you need. Terrace Lakes has graciously opened their facilities to us. So we're going to pass a basket around a little bit, and if we can leave them a tip, and also a little bit for the candidates for driving up here to help them with gas, since it's nice and cheap nowadays. A couple other things. Boise County Lincoln Dinner is April 6th from 4 to probably 9 at the Garden Valley High School multi-purpose room. If you'd like to have tickets, I have tickets available. They're $25 pre-sale and it's $30 at the door. If you'd like to buy a table for 6, it's $300. We'll probably have candidates speak. Our guest speaker will be Josh Tanner, representative from the Eagle area. I think it's District 14. Let's see. Christy Zito for Elmore County has a few tickets available for her Lincoln Dinner, which is next weekend, Saturday evening. Tacos, bar, dancing, live music. And it'll be at Elmore, Mountain Home.
Yes, at the American Legion in Mountain Home, $40 a ticket or $300 per spot.
Okay, so we've got tacos, a bar, and a band, live band, and they're $40 a ticket or $300 if you want to sponsor a table. If you want to go, let me know. We have fun.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do. We've got
Good dancing after that. Everybody. Was it Dorothy speaking?
Yes,
And Dorothy will be the featured speaker out there. Dorothy Moon. Okay, we're going to open it up for the candidates, and they'll have a speech, and we'll have some question and answer. And the first one up will be Christy Zito, running for senator for legislative district 8, running against Jeff Schroeder.
Thank you so much. Thank you so very much. First, I want to start with thanking our Creator and our Father for getting us all here safe and whole and providing this beautiful day that we have to meet and to greet. I am Christy Zito. I'm running against Jeff Schroeder, who is currently our legislative District 8 senator. I'm sorry about that, but we're going to fix it. So I'm really happy to be here today. I'm so thrilled. This is such a beautiful part of our state, and when we redistricted 2 years ago and I found out that this was part of ours, I was so excited. I actually have relatives who live up here somewhere. I think my cousin, Justin Hodgson, I think he drives a grader or something to grade roads up here. They talk like they might make it here today, so I hope they do. Justin and Mackenzie, I hope they make it. But anyway, so that you wouldn't feel like you came up here and walked away empty-handed, I brought campaign pins if you want to wear one of those around town. I brought flyers and grant cards, and I have more if you want to share them with your friends. I brought a little card you can sign up so we can get you on my Substack, and if you want to help later on in the campaign or even now, you can put out signs. I've got big 4x4 signs out in my truck if you want to put one of those up. But I also brought some, I think, really important information to share with you today. I guess I left some on the table, but I didn't bring one up here with me. You can't put one down there.
Oh, you're fine.
Just a second, let me grab that. So, you can sit in my seat, just sit in my seat, and then I'll find someplace else. I got a 2-hour drive to get up here. I can stand first. Okay, so what I brought to share with you today is, I don't know if you've been following what's been going on in the legislature, but there have been some couple of bills that have been working their way through here that the lobby interest has been putting a lot of pressure on legislators. And when I won my very first primary, before I ever got into the legislature, even before the general in November, I was called to this big meeting with a lot of the Blue Cross Blue Shield type St. Al's, St. Luke's lobbyists. And the guy that called the meeting stood me up in front of all of these, and I knew nothing about like the pressures of politics. I was not even sure what a lobbyist was, to be honest with you. I was that naive when I first ran for office. And so I would go walking into this meeting, and I meet all these people, and I go around and I shake all their hands, and this big guy who's like 6'4" and probably weighs 340 puts his hand firmly on my shoulder, and he said to me, "Are you going to work with Megan Blanksma when you get in there?" And I said, "Well, I can work with anybody." I said, "I grew up on a ranch and a farm, and I cowboyed, and I can get along with most anybody." And he said, "If you don't step in line and do like these people want you to, you're going to have a target on your back." I've had $1 million target on my back ever since, because in the last 3 elections I ran in, that's how much money's been spent to keep me out of office. I brought some papers for you to look at. And the first one, with the little bar graph on it, this is a campaign finance report for me and for Jeff Schroeder. And I want you to notice on there that we both come pretty close to raising the same amount of money. But what I would like you to take a really good look at, as far as the money on there, is where that money came from. 90% of my money came from people just like you and me. And there's a few businesses in there, but those are ranchers that I know in our area. And then Money Metals Exchange is the other one. The rest of them are everyday people that are donating $50, $100, $75, sometimes $500 when they can to my campaign. And on this paper is a list of the top donors in our campaigns. And you'll notice that mine are everyday people just like us. And Schroeder's are businesses. Wywick Barbacoa donate to a campaign. Blue Cross and Blue Shield donated to his campaign. Idaho Association of Realtors donated to his campaign. There was a vote on a bill Friday, I think it was, to grant immunity to chemical companies so that they can't be held liable for damages to human beings if something goes wrong. My opponent voted for that. My opponent voted against the library bill last year that would protect children from pornography in the libraries. He carried a bill this year because it's an election year that will make it so that parents will have to get permission basically from the library board to sue the library board if their children are damaged from pornography. That's where we are with this. That's why I'm running against Jeff to be your senator in Legislative District 8. I served 4 years in the House. I served 2 years in the Senate previously. I struggle to brag on myself, I really do, but I have a stellar voting record. I have a record that shows that I will represent you, that I vote for you, that I do not cave to these money interests that come into that state house and try to influence the vote. So that's really about all I have to say. If you want, we can listen to the other candidates, and then I'll answer your questions after if you would like, because I would really rather stand here and take your questions and give you answers to your concerns if I can, and get to know you and know what you're thinking and know what you want, than to stand up here and pat myself on the back, because that makes me feel really uncomfortable. So do you want to just go on to the next candidates and then we can do a Q&A after? Will that work? So who's next?
Rob.
Rob.
You're all pointing at me.
Thank you for your time and thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Christy. Well, I do know how to use a mic, but that's really hot.
You're not wrong.
No, I used to sing on our worship team in our church for several years, and so the mic was always here. So that's where I always go with the mic. Anyway, my name is Faye Thompson. For those of you who don't know who I am, I live in Valley County, just outside of McCall. I've been in Valley County most all of my life. My family moved there in 1972. So I've been in Idaho most of my life as well. We came up from Utah when I was 6 years old, and I've been here in Montana ever since, but mostly here. So I love this area. We couldn't be in a more beautiful area. One of the reasons why I decided to run for office was that all three of the representatives that we have in District 8 are out of Elmore County. Elmore County couldn't be more economically and culturally different than Boise, Custer, and Valley counties. Not that that their main interests and points are any better than ours or any less than ours. They're different. So I really, really believe that we have to have balanced representation throughout the whole district. And I know the three of us, if we can get in there, we can do that. So the last 3 weeks in the legislature, I'm sure all of you, you're here, so you obviously are interested in what's going on. They've been a little bit exciting. And I think Rob and I have benefited the most from some of the excitement. With the JFAC attempted coup, and then immediately following that, my opponent losing her leadership responsibilities, which was huge, to lose your peers' confidence in you. It was a vote of no confidence. That's big. She really has never been opposed in an election, and I hope I'm making her really nervous. And I think I am. A lot of people would say that my ambition is misguided due to my inexperience, but I don't believe that it is. I mean, we have all had our first day at something, and I know that first year in the legislature would be like drinking from a fire hose, but they have all done it. They're all still in there, so why can't I? I believe I have some really good ideas. I don't have all the answers. I don't think any one individual can have all the answers, but I have people like Rob and Christy, Scott Herndon, Heather Scott, Brian Lenny, so many people that I can reach out to and ask questions of and learn from, because these are really good conservative people in our legislature. What else has happened in the legislature? Oh, 3 days ago now? In 2019, my opponent got the needle exchange passed. And it was so funny because I was talking to somebody the evening before about how bad the needle exchange program really is. Because the Idaho Harm Reduction Project actually gives out opiates, methamphetamines, codeine, or there's another one that methadone, highly addictive. Just to those addicts, they'll give them one dose, and then they bring them in and they try and convince them they need to go into treatment. And then they hand them needles or whatever they want. Well, 3 days ago, the Boise Police Department and I know they raided Caldwell too, so they had other agencies involved in this. They actually served a search warrant on the two offices in Boise and Caldwell for drug paraphernalia and distribution of illegal drugs. Harm Reduction Project, yeah, the Idaho Harm Reduction Project. That was my opponent's, one of her pet projects. And boy, I'd want to be hiding under the blanket after this. Health and welfare is the major funder of this project, which means that's our tax dollars. That can't happen. Health and welfare is out of control. And they have to be reined in, big time. We've got too many able-bodied people. All they have to do is, I need help, and they get it. And then health and welfare doesn't want to let them get it off, or get off their programs. They have to make sure that they've got the right insurance or whatever it is. So health and welfare has got to have a big shakeup, and I hope that I can be a part of that. JFAC did an amazing job of formulating the new budget plan that they're going through. The coup, of course, the rhinos decided they didn't like it because they couldn't get all the money to their people that give them all their money like they want, and so they tried the coup and it failed, and heads are rolling. And I'm not so sure that all the heads haven't rolled yet. So they have a really good program, being able to look at these budgets, pass the budget, part of the budget that is necessary, and then be able to look at the rest of the budget to cut back and lower the pet projects and the fluff and everything. So it's a really good start to bring back. We have to cut the budget in the state in order to lower taxes. The property tax, that was not a true tax reduction plan at all. The money was just shifted. And so we didn't really, truly see a benefit from that property tax relief. And so we need to do other things, but really we've got to cut the budget back. When the budget grew 52% over the last 4 years, that's more than half, or doubled. That's a lot of money. And 42% of that comes from the federal government. We can't keep doing that. We can't keep getting money from the federal government to keep our budget balanced. We're borrowing off of our children and grandchildren's backs. That's not a balanced budget. And so if we quit taking federal money, well, we're going to have to cut in other areas, which is absolutely necessary. So I probably have other answers to questions later if you would like. Obviously, we'll have a chance to do that. And I really appreciate everybody's time to come and meet us and spend time with us. This is really great. I love it when more than 2 people show up to a meet and greet. So, Ron, you're on.
Yeah, thanks, Faye. Thanks, Christy, for driving up here. Let me just tell you a little about myself. You know, of course, like Faye said, you know, we're grateful to anyone willing to show up on a Saturday afternoon like this. We could be out in the swimming pool and you're here listening to a 5-minute political speeches. So, my name is Rob Beiswenger. I'm running for State House District 8A. This will be for Matt Bundy, is the current state rep for this seat. Faye's running against Blanksma. And I ran last time. Moved to Idaho in 2019. I really had no intention of ever getting involved politically. I used to do some political work back when I lived in Indiana, Indianapolis for about 8 years. Just did behind the scenes kind of stuff here, or in Indiana rather. But then I got out here, and then the COVID hit after I got out here, you know, the dark times, you know, the apocalypse, I like to say. And then really was kind of surprised at the reaction here in Idaho. I think like most people who move here, you kind of thought Idaho would be the one state to really push back on the stuff that was going around the world, the stuff you see in the lockdowns and the mask mandates, the vaccine mandates, and really, Idaho, you know, wasn't as bad as some of the places we saw on TV, but it really wasn't what it should have been either. So I was really disappointed in that, and so as my family kind of got our feet back on the ground, we got moved into Horseshoe Bend in 2020, a friend of mine came over to our house and said, "Hey, did you hear what happened in the Horseshoe Bend school?" And I'm like, "No, I really know our kids are homeschooled, so I didn't know." She said, "The Horseshoe Bend school pulled all the students in the assembly who were 14 and older and said, 'Hey, if you guys would like a COVID shot, we will give it to you here at the school, and we won't tell your parents if you don't want us to.'" Now, I don't go over my whole life history, but the health freedom kind of issues and things like that would drive me, just get me furious. And I was just about to blow a gasket there. I didn't really know what to do. Well, a couple weeks later, I got an email at work. Dorothy Moon, who's our former state rep here, was going to be in Boise in an event. I was like, you know, I'm going to go down there, see what's going on, maybe talk to her or some other people down there. She happened to be there. I pulled her off to the side. I said, "Hey, this is what happened there." I was like, "What do you think?" She's like, "You know, unfortunately, the way Idaho law is written is probably legal." So I'm sitting there going, wow, Idaho, not really the place I I just moved my family here to. A couple weeks later, she said, you know, when she and I talked a little bit more, a couple weeks later, she calls me at work and says, "Hey, I'm going to run for Secretary of State. Would you run to take my place and take my seat? I need somebody good to follow me, or I'm going to lose this to some, you know, sort of lefty Republican, right?" I was like, "You got to, you know, I mean, seriously?" And so I thought about it. I called my wife, talked to her about it. She's like, "Actually, I do want to do it." And this was sort of what got me hopping here. So as the campaign went on, you know, I got to be Dorothy Moon's substitute state rep in 2022. So I actually got to substitute for her, have votes, have committee hearings, all that kind of stuff while she was on the campaign trail for Secretary of State. And there was a sort of votes that came up. One was to repeal the sales tax on groceries in Idaho. Well, I was like, well, that seemed common sense to me. You know, we're one of a handful of states that has this here. We got a budget surplus. Let's get rid of it. So I voted against it. Well, surprisingly to me, the vote failed. And what's even crazier is all the Democrats voted to get rid of it, which is not a lot of them. But, you know, there's like, what, 14 Democrats in the House? Well, all the Democrats voted for it. A few of the conservative Republicans, I found out, voted to get rid of the sales tax, but all the other Republicans and a majority of the House voted to keep the grocery sales tax in Idaho. And I learned later that wasn't the only time that happened. There were several times they tried to force the minority on the grocery sales tax, tried to force votes and have it, and kept getting knocked down. I still don't really understand why we have a sales tax on groceries here. You know, it really hurts people who are, you know, low income, you know, don't have an ability to make more money, who are on retirement or disability on things. It's really I just don't agree with that tax. I would get rid of it in a heartbeat. There was also a vote to get rid of vaccine mandates that came up, and this is right after the grocery sales tax vote. Well, again, now this time, the Democrats were against this one too, but my opponent, Matt Bundy, was bad on both these votes. He apparently believes it's okay to have COVID vaccine mandates as a condition of employment or going to school or things like that. I'm absolutely against that. I would oppose it every single which way I can. I will sponsor the bill, I will co-sponsor the bill, I will stand in front of the State House and yell and scream if I have to. You know, that's how I feel about that. There was another bill that was just to make it so that you couldn't be fired of your job for not taking a COVID shot in Idaho. And the bill actually passed the House. Matt Bundy voted against that bill as well, so he believes employers can fire people and lose their jobs over not having a COVID shot. And the governor ended up vetoing that bill. So that one never got through. So he tried to make up for it. They put through a bill that says you will no longer be required to take a COVID shot. But the bill only applies to people who didn't already have a COVID vaccine mandate in place before 2022, or I guess 2023. Well, obviously anyone who had a COVID vaccine mandate in place already had it for 2021 and 2022. They're not going to start one up in 2023 when the virus is, you know, come and gone at this point, right? So that's the kind of guy Matt Bundy is. What got me, you know, totally against him though, and realized he was totally on the wrong side, was in 2022, as the campaign was going on, he voted to keep Idaho in a state of emergency regarding COVID 2 years, not 2 weeks, 2 years after this whole thing had been going on. So the campaign went, I got 47% of the vote in 2022. You know, I won Boise County and won it here too, thanks to you guys, probably. And also won Custer County, won in Cascade. What was kind of exciting was even in Elmore County, like Glenn Sperry and him, I think I lost each place by like 2 votes. It was just basically dead even. But in Mountain Home, where he's from, you know, he just kind of beat me up like 61-39. They knew him, and I wasn't able to cut through some of those attachments, you know, he had down there. And really, I just was not able, I think, to get through to his voting record. Even as I went door to door, I would talk to people, and they'd just be like, "Oh yeah, Matt, you know, yeah." And you could just tell the wall came down. You know, they weren't gonna. It didn't matter what I said, who I was, or I could set myself on fire, and it probably wouldn't have made a difference. So, but some things have happened since then that I think will make a difference here. And my campaign slogan, I like to joke around with people. I say, my campaign slogan is, "I am not Matt Bundy." and by the time I get done sharing you the rest of his voting record, you're going to understand why that's my slogan, right? There was a bill called House Bill 71 last year that outlawed sex change surgeries for children, you know, under the age of 18, and pharmaceuticals that did the same thing. Matt Bundy was the only Republican to vote against that bill in the House. So he joined all the Democrats, again, because there's a bad theme here, Matt Bundy and the Democrats voted against that bill. Now, he was asked about it, and some people here asked him, I said, why did you vote that way? Well, yeah, my students might have got, he's a civics teacher on the side now, is his side job. And he said, well, you know, my students, they might get upset with me, can't have that. He told Terry Gestrin, our former state rep, that he got lots of emails in support of his vote. Well, maybe from Democrats in the district. You know, maybe some Democrats in the call or something. I don't know these people. They've not been talking to me. But so he's had a variety of things to come back. I mean, and every person asks him why he voted the way he did, it gives him a different answer, which might tell you he knows he's in trouble. So Matt Bundy was censured by all 4 central committees, Boise, Custer, Valley, and Elmore, unanimously in all districts over this vote. And he wouldn't appear, he wouldn't talk to them about it, he wouldn't confront the charges, you know, so to speak. There were other votes too, so we get past that one. Then he's got a bill, the library porn bill. So he's like, you know, you get the dirty books, you know, in some of our school libraries are finding out the left's been putting in there for a little while, and now we're kind of catching on to it. Well, you know, Matt Bundy didn't want to do away with that either. He thinks that's okay, I suppose. There was a bill that would prohibit children from attending drag shows with sexually explicit performances, you think that's fine too. I mean, the list goes on here. And just yesterday, there was a bill to ban mask mandates by local governments, and of course Matt Bundy and Megan Blanksma voted wrong. So, like I say, I am not Matt Bundy. I will not vote these ways. I've been bringing the issues up. These are not kinds of things that I'm for. We're a homeschooling family. We go to Foothills Christian Church in Garden City. I led the fight to make Indiana a right-to-work state for 8 years in Indiana, which, fighting for right to work in a Midwestern Union state wasn't, didn't make me a lot of friends in the Capitol building. There was lots of bricks mailed to my office, and union lobbyists threatened to throw me over the balcony onto the floor of the House, for doing that. I'm just like, if you want to join a union, feel free, but you shouldn't be required to at the cost of your job. That's all I was asking for. I eventually won, and a friend of mine was like, well, Rob, kind of what Christy and Faye addressed earlier, are you just going to get in there and then cave the lobbyists once you get there like everybody else seems to do, and kind of what Matt Bundy has done? I was like, well, honestly, in Indiana, the Republican governor who's there hates my guts. I had a donor of mine, I talked to him months afterwards, and well, what do you think about right to work? He goes, well, that's a good deal. I said, what do you think about Rob and the right to work organization? And I guess his face turned red and he left the meeting, he split town, and because we put so much pressure on him, he was upset that I wouldn't just do what he wanted. Well, to me, I'm there to represent the issue and my members who are supporting it. So, and I tend to do that for this district as well. I'll support this district and its values, and if that doesn't make me a lot of friends at the Capitol, I guess I'll have to find friends somewhere else. And so, anyway, I could carry on and on about that, but in short, I'm not Matt Bundy. The election is May 21st. I would love to have your help in getting as many votes out there, because honestly, this race should be like 65-35. His voting record is an absolute disgrace for this district, and he deserves to get thrown out of office. So, do you have any questions or?
Rod,
Question.
speak a little bit more about that H493 bill that evidently passed.
The library bill? Or the sex change? Oh, the mandates, yeah.
Why now?
well, the bill was more conservative, I'd say, minded legislators who wanted to prevent mask mandates coming down from like McCall or some mountain home, imposing it locally. So they were trying to sort of catch it before the next virus X comes out, or the climate change virus. I don't know.
It's a
yeah, we're trying to say we're not going to allow this to happen again. You can't have mask mandates going forward. So Bundy and Blanksma voted against it. Now the bill passed. It was like I don't know, 45-15 or 20 or something. It was, but yeah, they voted against it. And I mean, Bundy just seems to. He just seems to represent like the government. He's representing the government to us. He's like, it's almost like the people in the Capitol have voted him in, and now he's come to tell you how it should be. I think is how he thinks.
Yeah.
I don't know. If you got a better explanation, I'm yours. But I just don't really care. It's just so bad I can't stand it anymore. But
Yeah. Property taxes.
yeah.
Trying to fix that mess.
The mic should fit over to him so everybody can hear the question.
I said property taxes. Do you have any plans to try and fix that mess?
Oh, thanks for the easy question. How do you fix property taxes? I mean, the first thing I would just say, it just seems so complicated. To try and dial in and figure out like what you owe, how much you're going to owe, that kind of stuff is so complicated. I mean, the one thing I do like the legislature did was to take money from the sales tax revenue and put it over there to help with that. I think that was probably a pretty good move. But it doesn't really, that's okay as long as we have good revenue and keep doing that. But
It was a Band-Aid at best.
yeah, it's a one-time move. Maybe it's good for this year too. I don't know what's going to be 5 years down the road. We don't have enough sales tax revenue to cover that and that kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, it's a huge problem because you're basically renting your property from the government. Somehow it's got to be made just more predictable. Like if you go work a job, you know what taxes you're going to pay. There's no question. Here's your payroll tax, here's your sales tax, here's your income tax, that kind of stuff. You know what it is right up front. It needs to be something more like that, but it gives so much power to the county commissioners, to whoever, that they can do what they want to make their budget the way they want it. They like it that way. The system has been made, to I think appease those people. But I mean, you talk about doing caps. you know, on different issues that way in terms of like, you know, they can't increase it so much and that kind of stuff. But, you know, you want to answer that?
All you have to do is look at our tax bills, our phone bills, our cell phone bills, and see all the different taxes. So I think it's going to take a group of legislators to come together and to actually just do a confab here and really do the deep dive of how these taxes work, where they come from, and where they're going, and just like what JFAC is doing with the budgets, and just really do that deep dive and then work from there. But it's going to be a lot of dismantling and a lot of reworking to do that. It really will. She had a question over here.
And I can talk real loud. We do taxes for people up here for free, the needy. And what we're seeing with the property tax thing, you come down to 1 acre of property. Well, people up here, they don't qualify for a property tax reduction for the circuit breaker. With 1 acre up here, and some of them have lived here for years, and they're going to lose their ability to live here and have to move away. When taxes keep going up because of the 1 acre rule. Why did that get reduced? That doesn't hit our county.
Okay,
terrible.
legislation like that comes from somebody who's got a friend who's got something that wants something done. So the problem that we got with our property taxes, there's a couple of different things. So people look at it and they say, well, why don't we just do like California and whatever? You pay for your property when you buy it, it never goes up. We have to have a constitutional amendment to make that change because our Constitution is written so that all the properties have to be taxed by the same rubric. The challenge that we have is our property taxes are based on our city and our county government budgets. That's where that comes from. So what we've done is people have wanted a library, or they wanted a pool, or they wanted another taxing district. In Elmore County, for example, we are fighting this. There's this old schoolhouse in Glens Ferry that they've decided to make a school out of. And so we already have services from Boise State, and I forget one of, like, I think it's CSI come in there. Well, they want to make it so that the other college can come in there and offer all of these classes. Well, nobody's underserved. Everybody can go to school online, at school, whatever they want. But if they get this through, our property taxes will go up a minimum of $100 for every $100,000 of value of your home every year, whether you use these services or not. So people keep asking for more stuff. We want this, we want that. If you look at your property taxing, just like Faye said, how many taxing districts are on your property taxes? You've got a garbage district, you've got a mosquito district, you've got a water district, you might have a sewer district, you might have a college district, you have an elementary school, you have a junior high. I mean, it just goes on. We have recreation districts in Elmore County. EMS. I mean, and a lot of these are really good services and really good things, but we've got to pay for it. And we need to be more conscious what's going into those city and those county budgets, because that's how we're paying for it, is through our property taxes. Now, I'm not saying that there doesn't need to be a rework on how those valuations are made. There definitely does. But you should be in that capital when people start talking about changing the tax code. Everybody's an expert, and everybody wants it their own way, whether it's good for anybody or not. So those, I'm sorry to not go.
Well, part of I'm seeing is a lot of widows that come in, lost their husband's Social Security, or just on one Social Security instead of two now, lived up here for years, but because of the more than 1 acre, and half their acreage is up the mountainside that nobody wants. They've got to sell, or they're on a river and now they're valued out of the market, and they're not going to qualify.
It's a mess.
All these people be forced to move.
They are.
They're old-time Idahoans forever. I'm seeing it already this year. I'm happy to tell them. Sorry you don't get the circuit breaker this year because you have more than an acre, or your house is valued because they upped the property value of it, yet they lived in it for 30 years, and they've got to leave Garden Valley. It's just unfair.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, it's criminal.
Yeah, it is. And
Do you know, I mean, we don't work all of our lives to have to leave our homes when we start retiring. And just like Faye and Rob say, we need a conservative majority in the legislature. You know, Ron Nate was the only person, I think, maybe that has ever served in the Idaho legislature that has a PhD in economics. Not a degree, and I'm not downgrading any other degree. This man has a PhD in economics. Do you think they would ever listen to a word that he said because he was a far-right conservative? We need to get good people in office. We need to get people in office who are going to stand up for what's right, who are going to stand up and lobby for you and not pay attention to the money that comes in the building.
As long as it keeps away from the lawn here. Just a couple things. First of all, I think just as conservatives, we have to be careful not to make too many divisions between Republicans and Democrats. As Rob was pointing out, Democrats are often on our side. We had an experience this week when we were asking to oppose that pesticide bill, which thank goodness did not pass. And guess who was on our side? 3 Democrats wrote back to me. I wrote to the entire Senate. Only the 3 Democrats said, I'm going to support opposing this bill. So we need to think about that as we talk and as we work with each other. I also wanted to mention one more thing that Blanksma did the other week, because it infuriated me. We were watching the testimony of, I think, Brian Lenny and Jason Gallagher's bill to rein in the central health districts. And she torpedoed it by trying to cut out their ability to do any preventive measures, whatever they wanted. I looked at some of the preventive measures, including the one that she was a very pet project of hers. It's actually a harmful preventive measure. And just because somebody says it's preventive does not mean it is safe or effective or necessary. Have we heard that before? So, agreed. I think a lot of the things that she's voting on right now, and the way she's voting, is because she's mad at losing her majority spot. Yeah, that has never happened. In fact, that never happens countrywide. It is so, so rare. And also, when they came out of the caucus that same day, before they stripped her of her leadership role, they came back in and actually reaffirmed Speaker Moyle. Thank you. I've got monks on the mind here. It's the new majority. That never happens either. In the middle of a session, they had to come back in and reaffirm his position as Speaker. That's unheard of. So both of these things, I would like to think that a lot of people are starting to pay attention that we don't want what these people are pushing down our throats. We don't want the woke and transgender and the bloated budgets, and we want the legislature, us, the 3 of us, to be responsible. After she was stripped of her leadership, she did an interview and she said, I have the trust of my District 8 constituents. Does she have your trust? No, she certainly doesn't have mine. I never voted for her. In fact, I withheld my vote from all 3, the 2 representatives and the senator, because I did the deep dive. I looked at who they were. I looked at their profiles online and how their voting records were. Well, of course, Schroeder, it's his first term, so he's going bye-bye. I could not vote for any of them. I don't care if they had an R behind their name, and there wasn't any other. I wasn't going to vote for any of them, and this was in the general. They had already gotten through and got the nomination at the primary. I withheld my vote from all of them because I couldn't in good conscience do that. So
we got yesterday, we got the Idaho Bulletin in the mail, and I just like to know where it comes from.
There seems to be a lot.
Yeah, it's very anti-Dorothy Moon and everything, and I could not believe it when I read. because she's supposedly in that paper support Bundy.
You can call her.
I'm curious where this comes from.
Somewhere on there should be a publisher or a pack that produces it or something. I know Dorothy Moon, I think she's done a remarkable job, like her or not, she's done a remarkable job in growing the IDGOP. And a lot of people have wanted to blame her for the loss of the presidential primary, and she had nothing to do with it because she didn't have a vote. She wasn't in the legislature. You know, so there's been a lot of misinformation. So I hope all of you plan on going and voting on March 2nd. I think we all have to get out there and vote. I'm chairwoman of the Valley County Central Committee. Christy's chairwoman of the Elmore County Central Committee. Rob is chairman of our legislative district. So you've got some, yeah, and oh, Jean. I'm just talking candidates here. Jean, she of course is your chair here in Boise County. So you've got some really good conservatives, and that's what I've been seeing going to our IDGOP winter and summer meetings. The meetings have just gone absolutely unbelievably well. It's because a majority of the people there want to be there. They want to vote conservative. They want liberty, and we just, that's who we are. That's who the three of us are.
Rob, do you know who is funding Matt Bundy?
So the question was, who's funding Bundy's campaign? Kind of like the chart Christy gave out for Jeff Schroeder is eerily similar to Matt Bundy's chart. He's got roughly 20 grand in the bank, 15 of it is from corporations or PACs, business industry PACs, around the state or out of state. So yes, we call IACI, the Idaho Association of Commerce and Industry. So it's the Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield. It's this PAC, that PAC. $500 here, $500 there. Really, I mean, Bundy last time probably raised like $40-some thousand for his personal campaign. But then you saw this Idaho Realtors PAC drop in money, and these other PACs just started dropping in mail. That's why you had mailers every day for about 2 weeks. Not just for, I mean, a couple of those were his, but actually a lot of them was just business PACs that were propping him up because he's in favor of like the Idaho Launch Program, which giving away like $8 grand a year to if you work in the right field, if you're I guess essential maybe that's the word they were thinking of. Certain fields you can do it. Then they had to create this whole program for that, right? And so him and Megan Blanksma was also in favor of that, and probably I think Schroeder is too. So yeah, he's definitely on that. So he's definitely picked sides on that. So yes, he's funded by the big business. He doesn't hardly have any individual donations at all. Versus look at my campaign like Christy's. It's a friends and family. I'm calling my friends in Indiana. I'm calling my dad back in Pennsylvania. My so on. Just kind of whoever I can think of who might have an interest in helping me do this year. I've also raised about 20 grand so far. If you put some pledges in there, I'll probably 25 to 30 grand overall. So I'll raise more than I did last time. Hopefully, it'll be enough, and definitely do my best to knock doors and go to meet and greets and attend functions and so forth. So I'm pulling out all my tricks I know to really just expose Matt Bundy's voting record. So to me, if you're really going to look at this voting record, I just can't imagine you're really going to be satisfied with even his friends out at home. I've been talking to, and they said, hey, do you realize what this guy's doing? They're like, yeah, we kind of realized over time he's really become, a rhino, and he's really just become a Republican who doesn't really vote like one. So, does that answer your question?
Yeah. You might want to talk about influence IACI has, and also Idaho Freedom Foundation, how they grade bills and then grade for the animation of anything through ours.
You want to do this one? It's a big topic, Miss Dave.
I thought I had it with me. I thought I had one of the Freedom Foundation magazines over here. Yeah. So, IACI is the Idaho Association of Commerce and Industry. And I think there are around 400 different business entities that belong to that now. Dairy farmers, the wool growers, the Cattlemen's Association, Micron, Amazon, home here?
St. Louis.
St. Louis. Well, you can go to their website and find out. The Realtor PAC is one of the fronts that they use to campaign with. They have a lot more now that they run money from the Friends of Brad Little PAC into the Liberty PAC into another PAC now that you're seeing paying for a lot of dark advertisement about conservatives who vote. For example, if you vote against the state police bill, funding bill, because you don't think they need a helicopter, then you don't support the police and they campaign against you. Things like that. So that it's just a really very, very powerful entity, and they do come after you. And they have more money than God. It just is a never-ending fund for them. And those of us who are conservative, because we work, we pay our taxes, we take care of our families, we want to send our own kids to school, we don't want the government to pay for it, we want to pay for our own personal feminine hygiene products and not have the government pay for it. You know, we're an enemy of the state according to IACI. So the question about the Idaho Freedom Foundation, they have really worked hard to discredit the Idaho Freedom Foundation. But if you go to their website, they have a very specific rubric on how they rate a bill. They just don't get a copy of the bill and say, oh geez, we don't like Brian Lunny, so we're going to give this a -4. Or we don't like Christy Zito, so we're going to give it a -2. But we really like this person over here, so we're going to give it a +5. That's not how it works. There's a very, very specific rubric. And I would ask people, if you ever hear people say, oh, that Idaho Freedom Foundation, just look at them point blank and say, explain to me why you don't like their rating process. Explain to me what's wrong with the way they rate a bill. No one has an answer to that. No one. I will guarantee you I've asked that question probably 500 times now. No one has an answer to that. So they do that so that, and they're not the only ones. There are several on a national level. The CPAC people have a rating thing. The Institution for Legislative, what are they called? I got some of that in my box over there too. I can hand you out a flyer that talks, or a letter I did just send out that talks about that. Idaho Freedom isn't the only, they're not the only ones that do it. There are several, and the thing that's interesting about it is the Idaho Freedom Foundation, their ratings are really right in line with every other rating organization across the country. They rate 1,000 times more bills than anybody else, but there's not that much difference between the way they rate and anybody else, so they're just Idaho's own.
Faye, I just wanted you to talk about yourself a little more instead of some of the policy stuff. Like, just tell me, like, just we miss, like, what you're doing up there and your Second Amendment, folks you work with and that kind of stuff.
Okay, I did skip over that. I don't like talking about myself personally very much. I did, let you know that I've been, I am, of course, chairwoman of the Valley County Republican Central Committee. I've been doing that for a couple of years, and before that I was the vice chair. And then I'm also secretary-treasurer of the Heartland Friends of NRA. The Friends of the NRA are a fundraising arm of the NRA Foundation. We're not the NRA. Although I know not everybody likes the NRA, but I am a life member. I have been a life member for many, many years. So yes, I agree with a lot of what they do, but I don't agree with a lot of what they do as well. But the Friends of the NRA, we raise money in the state of Idaho, and there's 14 committees, 14 I think, in the state of Idaho. The money that we raise in Idaho stays in Idaho. Then in January, we actually got together and awarded just short of $700,000 in the state of Idaho. And the majority of that went to kids 4-H, but most all the shooting sports. And so it's just so much fun to say, yes, let's give them this $20,000 or whatever so that they can buy ammunition or guns, because guns are expensive and kids don't have a lot of guns. So I'm really proud of that. Gosh, what else do I do up there? Oh yeah, my husband's an electrician. We've had a... I hate to...
You want me to talk?
You probably know it just as much. We're texting each other almost every day. Yeah, he has an electrical contracting business, and he's had that up there since 1989. And we married in 1992. We're still married. He is a Valley County Commissioner. So we both get to be on the ballot on May 21st together, which is going to be really fun. I'm going to go to the court clerk and say, can you void a ballot so that I can put it in a frame because it's got both our names on it. It's going to be fun. Let's see. Oh, what else is there, Robbie?
Well, how many people work for the business now?
Right now, actually, we just hired 3 new people. The building in Valley County is, and it's probably that way, especially here in Boise County, the kind of money that we have coming into Idaho now is stupid money.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable wealth. And he's in the middle of doing a 21,000 square foot house right now up there. And yeah, really? 21, yes, I said 21,000. He's an oil dude out of Venezuela or something like that. I don't know. But his last name is O'Shaughnessy, so I have no idea. But so he does all custom homes, electrical wiring, and yeah, we've got, I think, 7 employees now, which is actually 1 short of what we really need. Trying to hire people is tough. Housing, especially in Valley County, housing is quite an issue up there. And we have groups of people that go into the commissioners' meetings or the planning and zoning meetings. We call them the NIMBYs, not in my backyard. Oh, we have to have affordable housing, but don't build it here. You know, when a developer comes in with a project, oh no, we can't do that. It's going to harm the animal, it's going to harm the lake or whatever. But we have to have that. I had one individual that is the loudest, he's got the loudest voice against any growth up there, tell me that if you build more, the price comes down. Well, it's like economics 101, volume manages the price. If there's more, the price has to come down, or you're not going to rent it. He told me that was old school thinking. Like, really? Okay, I don't think Economics 101 has changed ever. So that is an issue, but they have passed a couple of projects now, apartment projects out towards Tamarack. That is, it's 2 years out before they'll be able to break ground, but at least it's a start. And so hopefully we can start getting some more employees to come up there. And I'm sure I don't know, this is a smaller area, I don't know if you have an employee shortage here because of how, okay, so, yeah. But I will tell you this, it is not the government's responsibility to provide housing.
Correct.
It is not. Our government, I don't care, local, county, state, federal, we have no business. It's just like the daycare, you know, paying for preschool and daycare. The government's paying for that in our schools now. You know, that's not, no, we should not be doing that. Our government has no business doing that. So.
Our government has no business doing a lot of things that they do.
Yes, and they do it. They definitely do it. I think it was Brian, it was on, I talked to him just the other night, Brian Allman. He said something at one of the Capital Clarity meetings about 3 weeks ago that really struck me as we're supposed to be a republic. We are no longer a republic because of the entrenched bureaucracy. It's so deeply entrenched. And so how we get that out of there, I don't know, but it really struck a chord with me. And it's really, really sad. But we are still a constitutional republic. And we can fight to bring it back. We need a new president.
Tomorrow.
So from all 3 of you, I'd like to hear your stand on the illegal immigration.
Oh, I can go first on that. Let's start enforcing the laws that we already have in place.
Yeah, I mean, the invasion of southern Mexico, and what I tell people is, like, it's not only these aren't people coming across to work anymore. I think, 20, 30 years ago, you might have gone, yeah, people looking for some work, maybe kind of just a wink and nod, but really, Trump was right. Build the wall. He was really ahead of his time on some of this stuff. We thought it was crazy time that he talked about the FBI spying on him. Thought, oh, come on. People kind of like that. No way. Totally true, right? Totally true. We needed to build a wall and defend ourselves, just as we would defend our house. If someone starts breaking into my house, I'm not going to be asking questions, right? Honestly, maybe Idaho needs to send some barbed wire down there to help out, right? Texas shouldn't be doing this by themselves, quite frankly.
Yeah, well, it's not nice, so I can't say.
Turn the cameras off.
No, I think it's a joke. I'm a second-generation American. My grandparents came here from Albania, and my grandpa and grandma were married 2 weeks, and my grandpa left to come to the United States legally to get a job, work for a year or so, go back, start a family, raise their family, and then World War I started, and he could go back for 7 years. So after being here for 7 years, he decided this was a really awesome place to live. So he sent for my grandma, his little brother who was way younger than him, and by then his mom had died, and the wives of all the other brothers that were here. And so I come along, and my dad and his brothers and sisters and all their cousins and everything speak Albanian. So we go to these family parties, and these guys, they're just yakking back and forth in Albanian, and the kids my age were thinking, hey, we're all about the same age in school. We need to learn how to speak Albanian so that we can talk about people and they won't know what we're saying. Because the Spanish kids are doing this. So then we'd have it up on both of them. And so I go to my dad and I said, Dad, I want you to teach me to speak Albanian. We want to learn how to do it. My dad looked at me and he said, no. And I'm like, what? And he said, no. He said, we are Americans. We came to the United States to be Americans. We speak English in America, and you will speak English. My grandpa died when my dad was 6. My dad was the youngest of 9 children born in 12 years after my grandma got here. She didn't read and write Albanian, she didn't read and write English, and she finished raising those 8 living children in the United States. How many countries in the world could do that? Those people that are crossing the border are not coming here to live that dream. They're not coming here to be Americans. They're coming here to take us over and to vote Democrat on driver's licenses that the state of Idaho wants to give to illegals. No.
Talking a little bit about heritage, I have an older brother that has had 2 wives. His first wife passed away. She was Mexican. She was a legal resident. She went through the whole process. He has remarried, and Melly has gone through, she's from Mexico, and she has gone through the process to become a legal resident. And just to become a legal resident was about $12,000. It's very, very, very expensive. But Jean's gonna love this. My family came over on the Mayflower. And actually, I think there's several relatives that were actually on the Mayflower because they were kind of intermarried in there. But so I am a daughter of the Revolution, and I'm just trying to get the paperwork.
Sister.
Any other questions?
I got a question on school levies. I've been listening to that in a few jurisdictions, and it seems like they want to fund social services program under the guise of community schools, and I want to know why the state isn't jumping in and paying their responsibility of funding the school districts, and why the districts keep coming back to the locals under a levy. So why are the schools becoming a social services center and not an education center?
I know that these two are going to have probably a different answer than me. My husband was on the school board in McCall-Donnelly School District for 12 years. When he was on the school district, we got funds, millions of dollars from logging. And they funded buildings. I mean, they had all the money they needed. The state didn't need to fund everything and whatever. So we need to, that's a whole new subject that we haven't even talked about. Our land, our public lands have got to be under state control. State land. I know the Boise Forest, I I don't know his name or anything, he has talked to my husband about how they can do that on this county level.
Well, they're supposed to be getting PILT.
But, yeah, they are supposed to be getting PILT, but PILT, try and get your PILT funds out of the government. And does everybody know what PILT is? PILT is payment in lieu of taxes. It's, you get a certain amount for every acre of Forest Service land that is not occupied by humans.
Well, they do get that. They are getting it.
Not all of
Right,
it.
and it's not a
Very low
set
amount.
amount that they're gonna get every year. The problem that you've got with the schools, because I was on the school board in Glengarry, but the biggest problem that I can see that we've got on schools, and you can verify this by going to Transparent Idaho, the school budget is the second biggest part of the state of Idaho budget next to the Medicare budget now because of Medicaid expansion with health and welfare. That's the biggest, and that's gonna break us. There's no way we can keep up with that. It's not sustainable. And the school thing is just as bad. And the problem is just like you said, instead of funding reading, writing, and arithmetic, we're so focused on all these social programs and all of this stuff. So a lot of that comes from government grants, okay? Government pass-through dollars. And the other big problem with this is, as far as I'm concerned, nobody that gets a paycheck from the state of Idaho should be able to join a union. Because we have the teachers union and then the National Education Association so embedded in our schools and in our school education associations that we totally lost control of it. And it's just like when I talked about, if you don't vote for the state patrol budget because you don't think they need a helicopter or you don't think we need 13 more officers in the state capitol, then you don't support it. So if you don't vote for an education budget, then you don't like kids. You don't support education. Even if it's a crappy budget, and even if there's stuff in it that they don't need. So a good example of the social program problem is just, Faye mentioned, she touched on it briefly, that 43% of our state budget now is federal debt money. The state of Idaho, it's in our constitution that we should be debt free. But they justify this because, oh, you know, it's a grant money, it's coming from it's ARPA funds, it's whatever other COVID garbage there was. So I got a call from a gal out to Nampa, actually got a couple of different calls, and she said, there's this girl that identifies as a boy, and she goes into the boys' bathroom and she sexually harasses the young men in the bathroom. Can't we do something about it? I'm going to go to the school board. I've gone to them 3 times now. They've already said, well, they can't do anything about it. Why not? Well, the reason that they can't is because the bathroom policy is directly tied to the school lunch program, which is a federally funded program through the USDA. And if they adopt a different bathroom policy, they lose their school lunch funding. So we got to decide as parents and grandparents and taxpayers, do we want to take control of our schools and maybe not have every little bell and whistle and after-school program and reading first and math is this and whatever else comes along and fund it ourselves and get back to what's important? Or are we just going to keep taking the federal money and then having to kick into the federal strings and having to abide by what the federal government tells us we're going to do in our schools? And the funding thing, is there never enough? I think, was it my last year in the Senate, didn't Brad Little gift $400 million to the schools with no accountability? And then the other thing is what I started to say, if you go on to Transparent Idaho, the school district I was on the board, we had 400 kids from kindergarten to 12th grade, 400. I was there through 3 superintendents, 2 hirings of 2 of them were hirings. They were making then, and this has been 20 years ago, $100,000 or better a year, plus their benefits, plus a car, plus continuing education, plus membership in all of these professional things, plus an apartment for their wife. And I'm like, what?
Plus insurance.
Plus insurance.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why isn't this money going into the classroom? So go to Transparent Idaho and see, there's a whole page there of who makes more money than the governor. And it's all education. That football coach for Boise State used to make $1.4 million. I don't like football. Why do I have to pay that? Oh, it brings money into the state. Then let it float its own boat.
Do you know where it can apply for those jobs? Do you know where it can apply? I don't know, so maybe I'm in the wrong field, I guess.
And I mean, I support education. I want the kids to have a good education.
Yeah, I mean, there should be good public schools. We should have good and safe private schools, charter schools. I mean, I want people to homeschool. I mean, I don't, you know, we homeschool because I just want my wife to have as much time with our kids, you know, while we can get it, you know. But really, like, there's so many people wanting to homeschool and get out because they're trying to escape, you know, the public school system for the woke nonsense, for, you know, you know, we were talking a couple weeks last campaign about the critical race theory, you know, stuff, right, and all that kind of nonsense. So it's one thing, and here we are in Idaho. That's what, you know, you call my dad back in Pennsylvania. He's like, "You're in Idaho, right? Like, what's going on out there?" It's like, it's everywhere. You know, the San Francisco left, you know, took over Twitter and the social media, and they now run the left in this country. And they're not, this is not the hippie left. This is not the, let's have, you know, peace and love and all that kind of stuff. It's not, there's no respecting anybody's opinion anymore. It's, you will have compliance because what we believe is wrong and they're right and they're gonna ram it down our throats. That's where we're at right now. And you can look at the COVID stuff, you can look at the censoring of people, shutting down people's bank accounts who don't agree with them, you know, what PayPal's done, what happened to the Canadian truckers up there. It's all kind of in the works. There's a whole different mindset in charge behind the left in this country, and they own some of the folks that, you know, say they're on the right. And my opponent and probably the other two candidates' opponents here are on the same mindset. They're not going to stand up and resist this. They're not going to fight back. They're going to roll over. They've already given into the local Idaho interest. What happens when the big dogs come in and we have the next pandemic? We have a climate emergency, right? I mean, if I come back next week and the snow's gone, we're going to have, you know, global warming, right? I mean, gosh, you know, I mean, who knows what's next? I mean, if you had asked us in 2019, we were going to shut down the world and force people to take a new experimental shot, which is really more gene therapy than a vaccination. I mean, we all thought you were crazy. I mean, we would have been like, yeah, go listen to Alex Jones, keep up with that, because that's where we hear that kind of stuff. And now we're kind of like, gosh, I mean, what's next for these guys? And the more you dig into it, the more they're still coming up with it, they're still preparing for the next round. It's in the works, and so it's not a great time for us, but, you know, the left is forcing themselves on the rest of us, and they're using, you know, federal taxpayer money as one way, you know, to do it to us, and we just got to find our way, you know, back out of it. It's not going to happen overnight, but it starts with putting good people in positions of power to do it, and I think that's why the three of us are coming in, because we just know that our current representatives here in District 8 are not going to cut it.
Any other questions?
Both of you guys have all touched on it a little bit, but it's transparency you're talking about. And I'm back to the property taxes because I think that's an important thing for pretty much everybody. I tried to call Boise County this last year to find out what properties they were using to evaluate what our property was worth that they were going to tax us on. Multiple emails and a couple, 3 phone calls, and all I got was a runaround. I just said, and I asked point blank, what is there, 1 property, 2 properties? What did you use to come up with this exorbitant amount of money that you think our property's worth? That 2 of my best friends that are realtors go, you'll never sell your property for that right now. And so, how do you? I think one of the keys is transparency, is to find out how we can make that process, as well as all the other processes you've been talking about, more transparent. And how do we do that?
It is. I have our county tax assessor come in and talk to my central committee twice a year.
Hey, give her the microphone.
I have my county tax assessor come in and talk to my central committee twice a year. And that's why I think it's so important to be engaged and involved, like in central committees and stuff like that. Because the more of you who hit the courthouse and say, we want to know how this works. You know, we don't have to be angry when we get there. We can be angry when we leave or while we're listening. I'm good with that because I get angry. But there's power in numbers. And if you will take one of those cards with my name and number on it, or my email, and email me afterwards, I will get with my assessor and get a copy of the paperwork on how that's all supposed to work, and I'll get it to you so that you'll know if yours won't respond to you, because I get along really good with Josh, and he responds to me really good. But the property tax thing is real, and it is such a nightmare in there to, like Regina Bayer, her last year, she had a thing that would make the circuit breaker even more. And the battle that she had just for that, it's just crazy. And you're looking at it and you're thinking, why can't we work for our people? Because we pay income tax, and then we pay taxes on that money when we spend it, and then we pay taxes on what we spend it on, because if you buy a car, then you have to license it, and then you have to pay property taxes on it, and then you have to pay registration. And whether it's a tax or a registration or an assessment or what, it's a tax. And let's just be honest about it. Anytime you're paying money on something you have, or to own, or to move, or to breathe, or to drive your car, it's a tax. And it is just so out of hand. But that's the first thing that we have to get our people to realize is that the more we expect from government, the more it's going to cost us. And you know, I remember when I was growing up, I didn't know this until later, but most of the people that I knew were either Korean War or World War I or World War II veterans. You know, the really old people were really, really old. But there were a lot of World War II veterans and stuff, and we didn't even know. We didn't even know. I mean, what this guy came and helped my kids put in a water line, and he limped. And so one of my boys, you know, why do you limp like that? And he said, well, I was on a battleship, and a bullet ricocheted, and it, you know, came up and hit me in the leg, so I have no calf. You would never have known that. But, where I'm trying to go with this is, there was a time in our country's history when we were proud to be self-sufficient. We were proud to say, I made it, I did it on my own. I didn't have to ask the government to come in and help me. And now we live in a world where people seem to be way excited when the government provides them with a phone, or when they got their COVID check, you could go out and buy a new big screen TV. Someone told me that worked at Walmart when they got that first $1,200 COVID check, Walmart couldn't keep it big screen TVs. And I think we need to work really hard on changing the mindset back to that American exceptionalism that made us what we are, that made it so that we valued work. And you were proud to say that you got up and went to work every morning. It wasn't like, oh, you have to work, or you pick tomatoes. I raised my kids hauling potatoes and working in the field so that I could have them with me. And we need to work hard to get that mindset back, because that will help us solve a lot of the problems that we're facing today, I believe.
Isn't it like the fundamental problem of property taxes, like at the end of the day, they have their budget they want to set, and then they will crunch the numbers to make that number work, right? That's the, you know.
Yeah, I wasn't going to say anything, but we bought 2 parcels when we bought here, and one's just bare dirt, or was. And our property taxes this year are 168% of last year. It would be less insulting if every once in a while you saw some maybe road maintenance, or you saw, yeah, or
somebody else is getting something.
Right, or if you saw maybe some lines painted on the road, or the warning sign by our turnoff to our house, which has been burned out for half a year, the little flashing yellow light.
Or the assessor doesn't get a $30,000 raise, and then we get the crap taxed out of us.
So the services aren't coming along with the 168% increase in, I mean, I can't fathom what that money's going to. I mean, it would be nice to see something.
Transparent Idaho is setting up so that all of the county and city budgets will be on there also. I'm so impressed with our controller, Brandon Wolf. He is one person in state government that I can say I'm like.
I got a comment on his tax comment.
Go for it.
Not all the money that you pay is going to the county.
No.
And not all the money that you pay is because a school district is taking it from you. You volunteered to give it to them.
Exactly. You passed the bond, or you passed
Yes,
the levy.
so-
You voted for it. You voted for the taxing district. That's part of
We
our
have a lot of
problem.
taxing districts in Olson.
Yeah.
And I understand that.
Lots of them.
But bunches of money. They lived pretty well last year. So that 168%, you know, when you voted for that increase in their budgets, it wasn't as bad. And now they're just riding coattails of this crazy whatever they're doing.
And I got another comment.
Exactly, and I don't know what that formula is. All I know is it's based on values. All I know is it's based on market value. But I don't know how they come up with it. I don't know where they do the research. I should look into that, and it's my bad to not know.
It took us 2 seconds and about 5 keystrokes to find 6 comparables, and not one of them came close to what the county said the property was worth.
And you can contest it,
Oh, yeah. They won't let you.
but I don't know how that works. You
I mean,
tried?
they didn't even send me the paperwork to let me test it.
We need to go on a field trip to your county assessor's office. And I don't mean with pitchforks and torches, you just need to go. A bunch of us and find out. Huh? Maybe for the second visit. But we need to go peacefully the first time.
So, on another issue of your taxes, you say it's already high, 168%. You also got a reduction because the state gave some money back to the school districts, which were to lower your taxes. So don't be surprised if you see a larger tax bill next year. And you're going to contribute to that if you vote to approve the levies. So you're in control of some of your own taxes.
So, yeah, and I would just say, on top of the complication of tax code is partly because every single line of tax code is written to benefit somebody, right? And probably not one of us. So, Faye, you might, you want to keep going here?
If you want to change subjects.
Well, let Faye decide. You have a question or?
No, she wants to move on to ranked choice voting. Does everybody understand ranked choice voting?
That's terrible.
It's horrible. It takes our vote away from us, literally, and it also enables the Democrats to...
Ranked choice voting is where the winner eventually loses.
You vote until the loser wins.
Bottom truth of it, absolutely.
You vote until the loser wins.
And it's not one man, one vote.
No, it is not. And the problem with this initiative that's going around, if anybody shoves anything in front of your face, wanting you to sign a petition that has something to do with open primaries, don't sign it, because they relabeled it. And as we have to be really careful with that.
And if you,
And it's the legislature's fault and the governor's fault we're having a caucus. It's not Dorothy Moody's fault.
I just wanted to mention that if you did accidentally sign one of those petitions, before they count the votes, you can go to your county clerk and unsign it.
Oh, good point.
I learned that.
Good. So if you do it by accident, you can fix it.
Who had another question?
Any more questions?
Did someone over there say they had a question?
I'm seeing some smiles on some faces. I hope that we have been able to touch you guys, earn your vote.
Well, I neglected to say this earlier, but want a special thanks to Susie for putting this on. Her relentless follow-up, and that's priceless. And thanks, of course, Gene and Steve for all the work they do for Boise County. These guys are doing way more than they should be, probably. Never thank them enough for all the work they do behind the scenes, phone calls, staying in touch, keeping things moving. Definitely been a nice change for Boise County. Daniel Murphy, our photographer, he runs all over the state. We see him a lot of places.
I have a question though. Do you all support lowering the prices at this magnificent golf course?
I definitely want to come golf here.
If it's a free market thing, the market will take
See,
where it needs to go.
I'm a fan of deflation. We've had this inflation, and people think it's a good thing, but I'm like, I like lower prices for once in a while. So yeah, let's.
Thought I'd throw that in.
I didn't know the golf course was here. I want to come golf.
I would like to know what you guys think about the Wilkes brothers selling our property. Our property, it was our property that we have used, and now, oh, you know I don't need this. And now they're gonna sell it off. The state has a surplus. The state could buy our property back. And I somehow just don't think they will. But to have the Wilkes brothers sell off our property so they can turn it into a bunch of subdivisions is very unnecessary, and I'd like to know what you guys think.
You might like my answer, you might not like my answer. It's called private property rights.
It is.
And Potlatch and Boise Cascade, I think it was Boise Cascade sold to Potlatch. Potlatch wanted to sell the land. They went to the state lands department, said, do you want to buy it? They said no. So, well, they put it out on the open market. And so the DF development came in and they bought a lot of land. And yes, now they're going to sell it. They locked it up, and I have spoken to the brothers, myself personally, just about a month ago at a meeting. They locked it up primarily because of the damage that was being done. It is their property. They do have the right to do with what they want. Just like it's trespassing. I used to have 10 acres, and we would have snowmobilers go zip, zip, zip because we were out in the middle of an open field right next to Forest Service property. And they thought we were Forest Service property, apparently, and it would just infuriate me, but it is personal property rights. They do have the right to do with what they want to do with it. They did start opening it up to permitting, kind of like down south and in the Midwest, they have leases for hunting. And Texas is big on that too. My son that lives in Louisiana, that's what he does. He leases land to go hunt on, and he gets some big beasts every year. But so they have opened it up to that, and they are making money off of that. But I saw that yesterday, either last night or this morning, that they have opened up their properties. They're starting to sell it again. Yeah. So I don't know what's going to happen with that, but it is private property. So
no, that part I agree with. I understand private property rights and that kind of stuff.
But we were given the opportunity with Potlatch and Boise Cascade when they had it. You could use it. You had free range of it, and then to have it just shut off with cameras and gates and they did lock off some roads that they were not supposed to lock off, and they've had to open them up by law. But we'll see what happens with the owners.
Walking it down, especially here, was they took out a bunch of roads.
Yes, they did.
And locked up a bunch of roads. If there's a lightning strike up there and it starts a fire, it's going to come down the hill. Well, goodbye, Turks Lakes. Ha! Yeah, it's because nobody can get up there to fight the fires. And a couple of helicopters aren't going to be able to...
Oh, helicopters. We need those bombers back.
Yeah.
They were the best firefighting machines that there was. I drifted off my subject there. A lot of those roads they had to open back up because they did lock them up illegally. And they, and people pushed back, and yes, they had to open those back up. But they can have a gate on a lot of those roads because they didn't provide access to other public lands or to another private land. So it's something that has to be worked on within the legislature, but really they could do what they wanted to do with it, unfortunately.
And I'm fine with that. I foresee them doing things before they fix problems. I mean, we're paying for it with the 55 Banks corner.
Yes.
And they're going to put in a stoplight, but they've got to do a lot of work.
There's a whole lot of work. They said it's going to take them 5 years to even get a plan in place. So they're going to do something temporary right now. That is going to be a very costly project, very costly. And I have sat in line for 6 hours waiting to go back home to McCall, coming back from Custer. It was after our summer meeting in Chalice. It was like, okay, now I know why people are having trouble with this. It was an eye-opener, it really was. We do need that there, but it's going to be a very expensive project. And guess who's going to get to pay for it?
It's the fact that they do so many things before they think them through.
Well, just like the logging that they finally did, it took a 12-year-old kid getting killed on that highway when they knew for years that was a problem. Those were some big trees that were dead, just waiting. And ponderosas, it doesn't take much to knock a ponderosa over, especially when it's dead.
Well, if you want some more fuel to the fire for your opponents, I talked to both Bundy and Schroeder about this particular thing because we live on Chicago Creek Road. A sign went up and somebody, I think, pushed it down so it wasn't visible, but it's the Texas property. They put a sign up. This was last year, September, something like that, and they ended up talking to both those guys by email, by phone call, and in person at the Garden Valley School when we were talking about the banks corner.
Yeah.
And all they pretty much did, I said, there's a big surplus, there's gotta be money somewhere. Let's buy it back to the state. They don't have so it's back open public use. And they pretty much just gave me lip service a couple of times, and I followed up a couple of times, and that's all they did. They just, no, we haven't talked to him yet, no. George said he personally knows the Wilkes brothers, guy that's in the state capital, whoever he is, nothing ever happened, so. They could have done something.
I know him too, but I don't have any pull with him. Yeah, he would.
Right against our property?
I don't know him. I don't know who their lobbyist is. But, and that's the problem, is it is a private property issue. And when the state had the opportunity to do something, they didn't. But then again, we've got to be really, really careful, because the more we expect the state to do, that's our money. It's our tax dollars. So you gotta, there's a balance there. I mean, some things are necessary, yes. Gotta have roads, you know.
Short-term rentals.
So,
Overrun with short-term rentals. But it's private property again.
Well, we got the presidential caucus coming up, March 2nd, or a chance to put Trump in there and, you know, see, wrap this thing up. I guess it probably wrapped up in South Carolina would be my guess, but so you probably find your local precincts there for the caucus.
did you get your letters?
The cards are supposed to arrive in the mail.
Should have gotten a postcard in the mail, or check the mail if you haven't in the last couple of days.
It's bigger than a postcard.
Well, all right. It's a flyer.
It's a flyer.
Yeah, it's a flyer.
Yes.
So don't
You
get
will get it.
You're gonna have to, till you get your card, read what you get in the mail careful, because I almost threw mine away. I don't wanna look at this campaign stuff already.
Noon.
But you won't get to cast your ballot till 1 something.
Yeah, but 1 o'clock or so they actually start voting.
The doors do open at noon, but they actually will allow people to come in until 1:30, and then we shut the doors. And then, yeah, and of course, you can go in, vote, and leave if you want. You don't have to wait until a certain time.
Because I had planned to do that, but I also have to start up kindergarten that day too, invoicing, so.
You should be able to, yeah. But it should only last 2 or 3 hours, depending on how many voters there and how many ballots we have to count.
Questions of the caucus?
So, we're gonna do?
At noon. The caucus is at noon.
Doors open at noon.
Everywhere, every precinct in the state is at noon.
It's doors open.
Except the north.
March 2nd.
Saturday. So what about people that work?
You know, there's no option, unfortunately. The legislature got rid of the primary for president, so the state party came in and put in a caucus in place to at least have some vote. We actually had no vote for president until they changed that.
Problem. In the north, we're in Pacific time zone, it starts at 11.
No. Well, yeah, okay. If you're in Coeur d'Alene, then you're 11.
Knowledge is power.
North of Ravens.
So there's that. Of course, our primary is May 21st. I think to speak for all 3 of us, we appreciate any help you can give us. Of course, we're raising money, knocking doors, meeting people. If you guys are willing to spread our name around, our webpage, or if you want to call us, whatever. Yeah, but what, yard signs? We got a few signs here. We can bring them out later.
Take care of the problem.
We've got signs that are beginning to do big ones.
Yeah, we got 4x4 signs. Chrissy's.
I got 4x8.
My name's not big enough to fit on a 4x8. I got cheese.
Also,
Boise County Republican Central Committee has their own website now. It's also linked into the main Idaho GOP site. We're thankful to Elizabeth for all of her help to get that up and running for us. And my husband Steve Moore is our webmaster. When he has situations, he converses with Elizabeth. Anyway, it's going. So there's everything Republican and Idaho that's on that site. I urge you to link into it and find out for yourself.
Well, I'm excited for the primary. I'm excited that Christy jumped back in to help save our Senate seat here. It was a big downgrade we had last session. You know, I'm excited for Faye to jump in the race. I think she was a little nervous last year thinking about jumping into it. She did pretty well, right? And she's got lots of knowledge there.
My question is this, are you 3 running like as a ticket or just individual?
Wait, what? They're running as a team, but they realize I'm a liability to them.
So, sometimes it just doesn't pay to shoot your mouth off. I have always been run against as a slate. Like my opponent ran on a slate with Blanksma, Bundy Evans, Blanksma, Bundy Bracco, Blanksma, Bundy Richards. So my thing was always, if you don't have guts enough to stand on your own and run, stay home. So I kind of cornered myself there a little bit. You can do what you want. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
You can campaign it any way you want. I'm just saying, for me to, I would have to backtrack.
We're doing things together and we're also
We are
doing like this, and we're also doing things separately too.
Yeah, so whatever it takes to get us all across the finish line, that's what we're gonna do. I mean, it's important. We hear these words, this is the most important election we've ever had in the history of this country, and we all say, oh my hell, I heard that last year. But every year, every election is the most important election we've ever had because it determines our future trajectory. So they're all the most important. So you can campaign it any way you want. I'm not going to complain.
Literally.
I was gonna make a sign for Schroeder, to the effect of, he has the right to be an atheist, but you have a right not to vote for one. That be kosher?
You can campaign anything.
It's American, what's it called, American Legion Boulevard.
Well, feel free to come say hi. Thank you for taking your time out of Saturday. There's 1,000 other things you get done with your time, so definitely thank you for giving us a few minutes of yours.
We appreciate you all.
Thank you all very much.